All right, welcome everyone to Frank Analysis. I'm your host Franco. I'm joined today by PCG50. He's a friend of mine who I've had on the show before to explain nuclear energy. He debunked some myths before about nuclear energy and how it could be the best path forward in terms of energy. You guys should definitely check out that video for more background. But here we're gonna follow up on the discussion that I had yesterday on my live show with Manatog and Red Economics on the Fukushima nuclear dumping. So PCG50 is going to give his medical perspective since he is a medical student in Tunisia. And he's also a big advocate for nuclear energy. He's done a lot of research on it. So, yeah, go ahead, PCG50. For the people who don't know, go ahead and introduce yourself and
Okay,
let us know if you think why you think that people are overreacting about Japan's decision to dump nuclear waste into the ocean.
okay. Well, uh, okay. My real name is Sadem. As Franco said, I'm a medical student. In Tunisia, I got interested in this the climate change and all of that like a year ago. And look, my if people that probably know me knows like I have like mostly vanilla and normal like socialist views on everything and anti-imperialist and all of that. But I have a different perspective when it comes to energy and climate. I would argue part of it because I don't live in a Western country. I'm not subject to a certain kind of old, basically Western myths. Anyway, I've been invited to talk about what's really going to happen with the Fukushima nuclear, what's it called, treated water. First of all, people need to understand what happened in Fukushima like almost 10 years ago. The fourth largest earthquake ever recorded in human history, then a 10-meter tsunami. Both of these incidents killed more than 20,000 people. As a result of that tsunami, and the Fukushima power plant only designed to handle just a 6-meter tsunami. That's all. And the reserve, what's called water water pump and cooling system were in the basement. They didn't work, and a nuclear meltdown happened. So, as I said, this phenomenon has been studied for 10 years. And I will link, this is not like some speculation I say on my part. I will link everything. And the United Nations report, we have 50 injuries, one death, no increase in cancer incident, not even increase in cancer incident between the nuclear workers that handled the disaster. Some of them received up to 50 times more radiation than the average person living in Fukushima. So far, and I know it's like maybe when I say something like that, people think it's heresy. How can someone? Well, this is like some of the largest disasters, and it's true. It's literally the worst disaster Western designed reactor ever happened to it. But I will show you the numbers, and this is like we know so far the radiation didn't killed one person, has been attributed to radiation death. And so far, the background radiation and the radiation dose in the area has been low. So, maybe, just maybe, the same people, the Japanese government and the International Atomic Agency that has been handling the situation, they might handle the release of water almost as good as the previous, what's this called, the previous the previous disaster management protocols. Go ahead, ask away, Franco.
Yeah, so you're saying that people are overreacting about how much they're dumping. So it's not a high amount of nuclear waste that they're releasing into the ocean, and they're doing it incrementally over 2 years, right? So it's not going to be toxic to
Okay.
humans immediately, right?
First of all, let's you know identify what are we releasing first. The
Yeah.
water will be treated twice by an expensive process. All the heavier elements, all will be sifted out. So what we're left with is mainly your regular seawater or your regular water, some minor traces of heavier elements, and the thing that people are reacting about is heavy water and tritium water.
Hmm.
What are those?
Yeah.
One can ask.
Yeah. It's important to define what those are. What exactly is heavy water and tritium?
Okay, so everyone maybe knows hydrogen from their high school. The typical hydrogen atom has one proton and one neutron. Sorry, my pronunciation might be off because I studied this in French, so
That's all
you
right.
might hear like weird French names or something.
No, you're
Anyway,
pronouncing
so
it correct. You're pronouncing it the right way.
okay,
Yeah.
the deuterium has two neutrons and one proton, and then there is the tritium, which is the one that is the most radioactive element left. It has what's called three protons and one neutron. Anyway, so this thing, first of all, it exists in nature. Both of these, they are not like some special products that have been produced by the reactor. They have the half-life of 12 years, the tritium. In 12 years, the amount that will be released, only half of it will exist in nature. The rest will not exist anymore. Tritium does not bioaccumulate. This is like something that people need to understand. It's like some small amount that will pass through like the organisms and then leave with nothing. With unlike like something like lead or mercury, those bioaccumulate and cause a lot of problems. And lastly, this thing, this small amount will be released very slowly in the largest what's it called water reservoir in the world, the Pacific Ocean. Seriously, I mean, do people think that 1.5 million ton of water will make any difference for the Pacific Ocean? You know, we understand this principle of treating like waste, human waste, and then release it in nature. This is exactly what we do when we talk about sewage water. We don't dump sewage water in nature. We first treat it until it reach like it's clean enough to acceptable level. We think it's then safe to release in nature, and then we do it. The same even with when we treat the human waste in general. We're not going to not everything in that garbage that human produce will be we can recycle. There's like organic garbage and like food waste and all of that. We understand that part. We sift the stuff that we can the toxic stuff and the stuff that needs to be recycled or stored, and we release the rest in nature. This is basically the same phenomenon. And when people are frightened about radiation, I can post the chart of the total amount of radiation that people receive. You need to understand that radiation is a natural phenomenon.
Yeah.
That you same with germs around you.
Right.
Uh, People and do develop an immune system response to radiation. If not for that, like maybe for all of us, none of us will be alive.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
like many sources of natural radiation. Nuclear industry and nuclear testing, each one of them contribute 0.1% to your total radiation exposure. People like me, doctors, 30% of your total radiation exposure. If you're really worried about radiation, I suggest you pick up your pitchfork and go to the nearest major hospital, because those are the ones that are actually increasing your radiation dose.
With CCT scans, X-rays, all that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I remember you sent me an article recent well, not recently, but you sent me an article about how bananas emit radiation, but it's not at a level that's going to kill us, obviously, because we're not dying, we're not getting killed or developing diseases from banana radiation. It would take like millions, or was it like billions of bananas to have like the same level of
Exactly.
radiation as what nuclear, or what, as how much emits, as equivalent to something that could kill us, right?
Exactly. This I can send the article. Radiation. We have been studying this for a while. This is like one of the issues I found with I kind of call it the new left. Because there is a certain interview for Mélenchon, Jean-Luc Mélenchon. He's like the mainstream French socialist party at the moment,
Hmm.
and he talks about this. You know, we understood. Look, where was I? Oh, okay. Radiation, about radiation. Look, think of it. People need to think about radiation and the human system, same as we think about germs. Like no one would take seriously if someone is germaphobe and and so terrified of germs that he's trying to eradicate all of it. We understand that our human body have no issue dealing with like the normal germs in your intestinal system, on your skin. We handle it perfectly fine. For radiation, the average amount a person, I don't know how much each country takes. I know how much the French person takes 3.5 millisievert per year. Okay, so how much did the nuclear workers in Fukushima take? They take up to 250 millisievert. Some of them, 250 millisievert. It's like more than 50 times the limit amount we allow that an average person we allow it to take.
Hmm.
And we are following this population, and so far 10 years after the disaster, there has been no sign of any increase in cancer rate. So I'm not saying we should take like 250 millisievert like the radiation workers. You know, we're not even taking like one out of 50 out of that amount. So unless you have a family that is working in radiation or working in the nuclear industry, you really don't have a lot to worry about.
Hmm. Yeah, two questions before I let you go. One is about the China, Russia, and South Korea. How they're saying that the Business Insider article that I talked about yesterday is reporting that they have serious concerns about this. And then the other question that I have for you is about do you know how much this could affect the ecology of the body of water in which the nuclear waste is being released? And why, like, how does this relate to China, South Korea, and Japan being, not Japan, but Russia, China, and South Korea being concerned about Japan releasing this nuclear waste?
This is like one of the there is a concept of concern trolling. You probably know that
Mm-hmm.
Russia not only has the highest the biggest stockpile of nuclear weapons. It's now currently the biggest exporter of nuclear energy in the world. Rosatom, the publicly owned Russian company, is responsible for 65% of the currently being constructed nuclear reactors around the world. So it's kind of, I don't know, weird that Russia is concerned about something it knows it's perfectly fine and it does it all the time.
They also dump nuclear waste into the ocean.
No, the tritium water, the water that
Oh,
have
okay,
a high amount of tritium,
okay,
it's something that the average reactor is released in nature, and they
okay,
release it in small amount that everybody understood it doesn't cause any concern.
okay. So it won't have any negative ecological effects as far as what you
This is
know.
as not as far as I know. I can show you the. I will just the in the UN report. They even studied the fish
Okay.
and the natural life. The issue that people need answer. Our current technology that measures nuclear radiation, it is so precise that if you know when you see those scary graphs of I don't know like cesium or something in nature, I
Yeah.
suggest people go and look at the scale. The scale is like 10 minus 9, 10 minus
Hmm.
12.
It's really, really low.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
this is how accurate we have. And secondly, this is like people do. This is like one of the things that I found the most frustrating about this obsession with radiation. A lot of the issues that that people may cause to talk about how how mining uranium has been toxic and all that. People need to understand that a lot of this is not caused by radiation itself. These are some of these elements used in nuclear industry are some toxic heavy elements. You know,
Yeah.
and this is like people do understand that heavy elements are bad in
Yeah.
any but then when it's talk about nuclear industry, everyone focuses on the radiation part of thing, and we don't ask questions about how about the elements, the heavy elements.
Yeah. When I was in undergrad and when I was in graduate school, I studied biology. I took classes. I took classes on ecology. I took classes on like on ecosystems and on I took seminars on like pollution and climate change, and the biggest concern, like nuclear waste, wasn't as much of a concern, not nearly as much of a concern as the plastics that we release into the oceans and other kinds of materials that we release into the earth that we use in everyday life. And that's what's causing hormonal changes to fishes and other creatures in the oceans that later then affect us because we consume some of these. So I think
This,
do you agree that like plastics and
yeah, exactly.
microplastics are more of a
No,
concern?
no, I would go a step further. My father sells fish for a living.
Mm,
I'm more concerned that most people of the quality of the fish I eat, because I eat a lot of fish in my life.
hmm.
Heavy. Like we know mercury. We have lead issues. We have the
Right.
microplastic
Heavy
and all
metals
of
that are
that.
released. Yeah.
Heavy metals. You know, these are problems. These are cause far more problems than nuclear waste. Radiation can never pose. There are like statistics about occupational hazards, and this is like one of the most frustrating things, because the stuff I can say, if the left was a bit attached and speak with people working in unions. Nuclear industry is one of the highest and electricity production in general have high unionization rate. And when I listen to stuff like that, I know these people do not talk at all to any person working in industrial job. Look, by far the most worrying causes and the first causes of occupational caused cancers are chemical products. Benzene,
Yeah.
fossil fuels, coal.
Yeah.
These are, these chemicals cause cancers.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing about something that is has insignificant capability of causing cancer, how about we talk about these elements?
Right.
And this is like one of the things that people I find the most frustrating. We say nuclear industry, we say fossil fuel industry, but sometimes it feels like maybe renewables are like some made out of magic or something. Wind or solar, like there isn't an industrial process that happened behind to make these. And the case of solar, most of it happened in China. Like no one sees how we make solar panels, and no one seems to care. They think they are like perfectly safe and doesn't include any sort of industrial or chemical process that might cause carcinogen and release carcinogen in nature. Cadmium, in particular, which is one of the most used critical element to produce solar panels, is a recurrent offender in occupational cancers and occupational disease.
Yeah. And again, I just want to let the audience know we went into detail about how fossil fuels are way more dangerous and are killing more people than the way that we have our nuclear energy system right now across the world. So yeah, I'll link that in the description for you guys. PCG will also send me sources to peer-reviewed scientific studies and other articles as well for you guys to check out that backs up the things that he just said here in this video. PCG50, thank you very much for coming on the show. Is there any final things that you want to say?
You know, I think that people need to understand we do not have any model to defeat fossil fuels or remove fossil fuels. All this climate change, we're gonna change. It simply doesn't work. This is like one of the most sad thing I need to tell people. This wind and solar, if it work, just look at the German emission. So since we don't have any model, climate change model to the climate change frame, I think people should look back to something, a historical event that, the oil crisis of the 70s. Back then, a lot of country had the problem. The fossil fuel has become 3 times more expensive in the span of 3 months. So in that this entire nuclear industry, nuclear energy build out happened in that period in the 70s because of the oil crisis. And we know historically, we have the historical data. There's only two ways you can remove, you can eliminate fossil fuel from electricity. Either you have a lot of hydroelectric power, or you go with nuclear route. These are the options. We can entertain some fantasy models about maybe in 2040 batteries will be cheap enough. We can eliminate natural gas backup. All I say, if we think climate change is such an existential threat, how about we use technology we know it work since the 70s to defeat this challenge?
Right on. PCG50, thank you again for coming on. And to everybody else, stay informed.